I swear I'm going to drive myself crazy trying to do this. Sorry about the glasses. I need to be able to read some stuff. A report has come out showing that the IDF between 2018 and 2022, so before the October 7th Nova Music Festival massacre, documents were seized from Hamas showing that they were specifically targeting Canadian NGOs, non-government organizations, and charities that would be working within Gaza. The campaign was to manipulate and coerce humanitarian aid. I do not know what Stasi-like tactics means, but apparently that's what they say. Stasi-like tactics employed to manipulate and coerce humanitarian structures. These documents come from the Gaza Interior Security Mechanism, which is a unit within the Hamas Ministry of Interior and National Security. I still don't understand how you can have national security when you refuse to sign the peace papers that would allow you to actually have a nation. But bearing in mind that Hamas, this whole thing also does surveillance, espionage, political dissent, does the border crossings, enforces Islam, and the handling of the prisoners within Gaza, which, as we have recently found out, will mean they'll be starved, forced to dig their own grave, and then possibly just killed, especially if you're a baby. Who had been targeted? Well, the Action Against Hunger, the Catholic Relief Services, Handicap International, Islamic Relief Worldwide, Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders, Save the Children, and World Vision. They wanted to know how to both be aware of the confidential expenditures and what their activities were going to be. For the Catholic Relief Services and Handicap International, both of them were found to have employees that were affiliated with the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, which is in Canada recognized as a terrorist organization. Between 2019 and 2021, Canada allocated first $4 million, and then in 2024 it went up to $22 million for Handicap International. In 2022, the Catholic Relief Services got $2.2 million. The Handicap International claims there's no evidence, none of this stuff exists, saying that Hamas was targeting them or had infiltrated them. The Catholic Relief Services didn't respond to this. Save the Children says they're an independent and impartial group. Docs also showed that not only were they focused on Canadian NGOs and charities, but they were focused on the guarantor. The guarantor is the person within Gaza who says that it's, that they use as a link to the outside charity or NGO. But these guarantors had to have a very specific personality type. In December of 22, a 30-page single-spaced document with Hamas's stamp right on it says these guarantors can be exploited for security in order to infiltrate, know the assets, and ascend to senior staff to affect the movements within Gaza. So the whole point of the guarantor was not to just make sure that whatever it was going to be a legitimate charity coming to Gaza, but are you malleable? Do you have enough Jew hate that we can work with you? Because International Medical Corp originally had a guarantor and Hamas didn't like them. Instead, they preferred someone who already had ties to a terrorist organization, came to pray at the mosque, was often in Judea and Samaria, which is anti-Semitically referred to as the West Bank, and is currently a Nakib, a captain within the Dawa Mosque. He also likes to use hawala, which is an informal method of transferring money across borders without using traditional banking systems. Now, June of 2021, Oxfam is alleged to have helped Hamas when it comes to infrastructure projects that eventually ended up with a tunnel system under Gaza larger than the London Underground. Bearing in mind that the former head of Oxfam, Halima Bahoum, and she wants everyone to understand she is Muslim, and she is suing them for racism, sexism, and anti-Semitism. She said that they had no right and no business claiming that Israel had done a genocide, claiming that Israel had committed genocide. In fact, NGOs and charities have sort of been waiting almost 20 years since Israel left Gaza for any opportunity to be able to claim that Israel is committing genocide. Oxfam says that they got the questions from the reporters, but that was Oxfam UK, so the reporters were referred to the Canadian branch, which apparently doesn't deem those questions worthy of consideration. So the question for me is, does Colonized Me Carney understand just how much of Canada has been infiltrated by Islam, who openly states that its intention is colonization of the planet? They are a religion of peace as long as you convert. And they also openly state that they want the genocide of Jews, not just in Israel, but everywhere. Does that sound like something that fits into the melting pot of Canada? As someone who's been a Canadian for decades and decades, it's not what I was raised to believe.